Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Hunter Loves Voiceplay podcast, Geoff edition. So we are here to talk about the latest and possibly the greatest out of Geoff's Halloween series of videos, and I had been waiting for him to do this one in such a long time, and I'm so glad that he finally was able to bring this one to light. We are going to dive in to Geoff's version of Jack's Lament from The Nightmare Before Christmas. So let me go into the original here. So the original was sung by Danny Elfman, who provided the singing voice for Jack Skellington in Nightmare Before Christmas. And Chris Sarandon did the talking voice of Jack. And with more knowledge of just Chris Sarandon as a person, and for those of you who don't know who Chris Sarandon is, he played Prince Humperdinck in Princess Bride. So if you've ever watched Princess Bride, you would know that that's exactly who he is. And he provided the voice for Jack Skellington. So it was always interesting to me that it was like his voice was just, I don't know. Like, now that I think about it, I don't think that that was possibly the right casting for it, but I also understand that it is a Halloween movie. It is for kids. So I guess maybe they wanted that lighter speaking character in order to just to not scare the kids too much with like this deep villainous voice. But I also think that, you know, when they made the choice of having Ken Page as Oogie Boogie, it makes sense because it's like you kind of wanted to have like that contrast between light and dark, good versus evil type of thing. And Ken Page just knocked it out of the park. So they did amazing there. But I think, you know, if they used somebody who was a little bit more of like a little, I think like if they had used like more of a baritone / bass voice for the voice actor, I still would be okay with that too, because it's Jack. But, you know, they did what they had to do, and it worked. And I think it was a couple days ago I realized that it was the 30th anniversary of Nightmare Before Christmas, and I'm sitting here and I'm looking at myself going, geez, I remember when that movie came out. So, I'm old, is basically what I'm trying to say. I know, everybody in the comments is going to haze me for saying that, but anyway. So yes, Jack's Lament. It is a beautiful song. That and Sally's song are probably my two favorite songs out of Nightmare Before Christmas. Just because, like, they're so, like, melody-wise, they're just so beautiful and so romantic feeling. You know, they're very simple melodies, I would say. And of course, like with Danny Elfman, who is just a very simplistic, but also chaotic type of mindset. He just kind of brought a little bit more to the plate that I think that a lot of people weren't really expecting. But yeah, Jack's Lament, it's a song of where you have this character that has grown tired of what he's been doing day in and day out. He's just grown tired of it. Like, it's just like, I've been scaring kids for, you know, X amount of years, maybe 300 at this point. We don't know, because it's like, we don't know the date of when Jack specifically died, what happened, or just how long he's been doing it. Like, I think probably since the establishment of Halloween Town, he's been doing it. So Jack is kind of one of those characters that I understand. I kind of like that you really show a little bit of empathy towards him, because he's just like, I've just done the same thing over and over and over, and it's become dull. It's become this thing that it's like, I'm not finding the same joy in it that I did all those years ago. Like in my prime, because it's just become repetitive. Like, there's no changes to the performance, or there's no different audiences. It's just been the same thing 365 days a year. And I think anybody would get sick of that. If you took every holiday in the world and did it for 365 days a year, the same thing, no difference in your traditions, no different family members, you see the same people every day for 365 days a year, because you're celebrating only one holiday for 365 days a year, you'd go nuts. You would just go beyond the point of burnout. And you would be lamenting about, well, hey, I need to get a break. So, well, I've spent the first 6 minutes of this podcast episode talking about the movie. So I should probably move into Geoff's version of Jack's Lament. So, Geoff, I had always gone in with like this pre-deceived notion how he was going to go about it. It never turns out the way that I picture it in my head. It never does. I always have this idea of like, hey, I know exactly what he's going to do with this. Nope. And he just, shuts it down right away. And I'm like, there you go again. The man of mystery himself just managed to change it up and make it so much different and so pure. And he said that it was like an homage to the original, and that it's like, he still was going to keep his own little spark into just with Geoff's style, And so with the arrangement, of course, very simple. He didn't complicate it too much, but he said it was also difficult because like with the original, like you go from speaking to singing, singing to screeching, screeching to speaking. It's basically like a speak song narrative, really. Like it's a narrative type of song. 'Cause like you're basically telling the story of like how you're feeling in that specific moment, but then you're also singing it because you're lamenting your sorrow and you're lamenting your just what you're getting tired of. And then you go back into speaking, which is, I think singing it is very difficult to do without a lot of practice because there's just so many key changes and so many switches that just happen like that. But Geoff, oh my God, he just did a beautiful job. I almost started crying, but I was just, how in the movies when that one character just falls deeply romantically in love with somebody? That was how I felt. My hands just went right to my heart, and here I am like swaying in my seat as I'm listening to this, because it is that lamentous lullaby that Jack is trying to say. Like he's trying to get all of his points across in this kind of deep, dark way, but he's also trying to bring his own character to the forefront of everything. So Geoff put in a couple of low notes that I wasn't expecting. I really thought like just with his character, he was going to kind of bring it more just kind of to the same, but no, he brought his own flavor to it. And I'm so glad he did, because now I see it. I see what he means when he wanted a bass baritone. I mean, even just baritone roughly would have been perfect just for that character, because just a little bit more of a boom in his voice just would have made it so much better. So I definitely see it. And Geoff really brought that arc to his performance. And I give Geoff so much credit for him putting in 4 days of work, from setup to breakdown to even some of the stuff that was added in, not into the original the YouTube release. He spent 4 days working on setup, working on lighting, working on props, working on it. Just, he put in so much effort into this, and he I'm at a loss for words. His hard work and dedication, you cannot expect more from a Virgo. To be perfectly honest, they're just hardworking, and I don't think they know when to quit. Even though they set themselves up to try to quit, it's like, no, they will never ever quit. So I always find that that's funny to me. But yeah, he just did a tremendous job. And Rick Underwood's makeup, oh, let me just fall limp for a second and maybe try to find a soft place to sit, because goddamn, I was not expecting him to do such an incredibly detailed job, from the hands to the chest to just the face. I was like, oh my freaking God. I'm not gonna say a swear there, but you get the point. But once I saw those hands, I'm like, oh my God. Like, because Geoff had put out the teaser on Patreon and then even on Instagram, and there's like his hands playing the piano, the first couple of chords at the start of Jack's Lament. And I'm looking at those and I'm like, my God. And then as I'm watching the video, I'm like, he did both sides. Oh, like my brain exploded because it's just so incredible attention to detail, both from Rick and also from Geoff, of course. And Geoff had trouble with the contacts again, as he always does. I don't think he's ever going to master contacts. He's one of many talents, and his talents are known far and wide. Haha. But I don't think he'll ever master contacts. I just do not think it's ever going to be a possibility for him. Like, I'm sorry, buddy, I love you, but it's just not going to be in your favor. Turns out I'm all out of coffee. Oh dear, that's not good. Just even Geoff's performance, from his hand gestures to his overall mannerisms to just even his overall emotion and just, like, I would say power. Like, power doesn't really fit there, but he does put in a lot of more emotion to it. Just a lot more emphasis on certain things. Because, like, but he also keeps to the other traits of Jack's character. So, like, in the original, like, he says, like, and I, Jack, the Pumpkin King. But with Geoff, he took it down to the bass. And I'm like, oh boy, like, just when I thought that I would be scared, like I thought that that was going to be the scary moment. Turns out, no. I wasn't expecting him to go, like, deep into kind of, like, froggy territory. And I'm just like, whoa, man, hold up. Like, what are you doing? So that was also kind of interesting to me. I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, he's friggin' going for it. But yes, I loved that moment. Not only is his face absolutely terrifying, but it's just the overall enunciation of that line. It's just like, oh, this is so perfect. So, and then we get into, like, I'm a master of fright and a demon of light, and I'll scare you right out of your pants. And he's just, like, going with it. Like, he's showing that it's like, I am this persona. I am this master. I'm gonna, like, I can scare anybody. Like, it don't matter. People just have to take one look at me and then they're scared, you know? And I absolutely love the way that he put the grit and kind of the hoarseness on I'm Mr. Unlucky. Because Danny just kind of goes, I'm Mr. Unlucky. But Geoff put a lot more emphasis onto it and he goes like, I'm Mr. Unlucky. And like he just brings that hoarseness. And I'm like, oh, just, how is this going to get any better? Like, I mean, I'm only maybe 2 minutes in at this point. But it's also fun when he gets to, I'm known throughout England and France. He does the cutest little bonjour that I've ever heard. And I think he changed it up. Because in the Patreon release, he just goes, bonjour. But in the YouTube release, it's bonjour. Like, he gives it a little bit of, like, a heightened expression. Kind of like a more friendly greeting. So, you know, that was also a good toss in there. Then we get to, like, and since I am dead, I can take off my head. And of course, I was like, let me guess. He's gonna green screen his head off. And sure enough, I'm like, oh, yep, there we go. He's holding on to his head. So I'm like, that's just, yes, perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Let me go back to the beginning here. So the opening chords are just, the augmentation, oh, is just, I love it. He just gives it that creep factor that I'm like, oh, if I wasn't loving Halloween, I'm loving Halloween so much more now. And that was like the teaser clip on his Instagram as well. And I'm like, you're killing us with the suspension over here, man. This is just so much, but it's so beautifully done. And then we kind of pan in and you see him at the piano. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, there was no teaser of the makeup at all before we saw the video. And it's like, oh, just chef's kiss, muy bueno. Like, it's just, oh, it was just bellissima. Like, it was just gorgeous. And a lot of my friends were saying, I'm kind of liking Jack a lot more than I'm liking Oogie Boogie. And I'm like, whoa, that's a pretty big step, knowing, because like if you look at Geoff's Oogie Boogie, a lot of people were falling in love with him, but now that people are falling in love with Jack, it's like, ooh. But, you know, to play both parts of the spectrum, I love it. For him to have also played Oogie Boogie, but also to now play Jack, it's a perfect contrast of character. So I appreciate that. Yeah, we get into... And the piano throughout this whole entire thing, like if you're lucky enough to listen to the MP3 of this, oh god, it's beautifully done. Beautiful. My goodness. Like, I'm like, only wish I was better at piano, to be perfectly honest. I mean, I don't practice, and I probably should, but oh, dang. It's just so pretty. I can't say. It's beautiful. And the musical elements that he put in there too, he put in a little bit kind of like electronic pop, kind of closer to the end, and I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Like, yeah, it's a gorgeous arrangement, and Geoff is always good at making beautiful slowed down arrangements. I don't know, like, he's good at making upbeat ones too, but his slower ones are just, he puts a lot of soul and a lot of love into those a little bit more. And yeah, let me see. Okay, so we get into the start. And then it's like, of course, he's doing the speaking, and then he gets to probably maybe one of my favorite phrases in this whole entire thing is just, oh, somewhere deep inside of these bones, an emptiness began to grow. And I'm like, oh, there it is. Just that sweet, sweet little sing-song melody of, you know, gorgeousness. And of course, like, he's jumping back and forth between speaking and singing, so that's a challenge in and of itself. But he did it phenomenally. Yeah, it all worked together. Like, all of those pieces just came together in a gorgeous pumpkin pie of beauty. And the set. Oh my goodness. So many Easter eggs in that set. Good lord. And I mean, if I could find that frickin' moon on Amazon, I would buy it. But American currency is a lot different than Canadian currency. So if it was about $82 in American, that would make it 100 and something in Canadian. So it's like, hey, I love it, but like, where am I going to put it? And also, do I really need it? That's the thing. But, you know, good on you, Geoff, for finding that one. And the pumpkins, so many pumpkins. And I'm like, as I'm looking around my room here, I'm also thinking, I'm like, yeah, I got a slight little pumpkin obsession myself, too. So, but I mean, it wasn't my fault, because the setup that I had gotten, they just came within like 6 or 7 different pumpkins in both sets. So it's like, I get it, honestly. But yeah, the set is just absolutely incredible. Like, the moon and the lighting, you know, the fog and the Haunted Mansion gravestones, kind of a little bit of a teaser to the project that he's been working with Patty Cake on that's going to be released next year. And I'm like, foreshadowing. I like it. I like it a lot. And Geoff makes a very good looking dead man. Just saying. He looks really, really good for being skeletal. Like, again, going back to that detail on those hands, the minute that Geoff, like, reaches towards the moon, the way that the lighting hits his fingers, it almost looks like his fingers are bone. And I'm like, Rick, damn. Like, that is good detail right there. And then they also interpreted Zero into the mix, because they weren't sure if they were going to be able to do it, because they were short for time. And they're like, like, do we really want to add him in? But sure enough, they did it. And that was a perfect add-in. I mean, I gotta be a critic and say it didn't really add much, but, I mean, you know, you added it in there just as much as, you know, you could. So it's a good, cute little detail. But the one thing that I absolutely love at the end is when he discovers snow. Geoff, your character acting for that, just to be looking at the piano and then looking straight ahead and then looking up, and then that small little smile of hope and that glimmer of hope and happiness, just spot on. Oh my god, just amazing work. And gotta give a lot of credit to Kathy, because she did a lot of it too, and we kind of went into a deep dive of just how it all came together. And, you know, if you're not on Patreon, you should definitely check that out, because then you get to know all the secrets of the magic that happened. So, and I think that's kind of like the theme of it all, was like that magic, right? Like, it's like we're lamenting about something we've lost, lamenting of something that we're bored with, but we're also trying to find that glimmer of happiness, of something new that's going to happen. Ooh, and Geoff is also really good with the scream part. Because when it gets to the part in the lament where Jack is saying, like, no animal nor man can scream like I can at the fury of my recitations. Geoff screamed. I mean, he went up into his tenor range, and I'm like, bro, I wasn't expecting that. I really wasn't. I was like, is he gonna scream? And sure enough, I'm like, oh, he did it. Oh my goodness. And then he like brings it all the way back down, and he bends over, and his eyes, well, in the Patreon release, they were red, but he added in another detail. He added in jack-o'-lanterns. In the YouTube release, they're jack-o'-lanterns. And once I realized that, I'm like, no way. I'm like, that is just such a great little detail that is just... There's so many Easter eggs in this video, and it's like, I can't focus on enough of it because the melody takes me away. And whenever I've been sitting and I've been listening to it, I'm just like, I just can listen to this over and over and over and over again. And like the week before it was released, that's exactly what I was doing. I was listening to it over and over and over, and I did. So, yeah, just an incredible job by Geoff, Kathy, Rick, you know, Lane and Tony, they helped out a lot with that. The set is divine. The makeup, beautiful. Arrangement, simple and gorgeous. And I have to go off, I have to say, just the way the melody is at the end, after he says, does nothing for these empty tears. It doesn't really carry off in the original, but in this one, there's a little bit more violin, and it takes you off into kind of Beetlejuice land, somebody had pointed out to me. And I'm like, if there was ever a live action version of Nightmare Before Christmas, I would want that in there. Like, you would want that, because it's like you're holding on to this lament, but it's also showing just the overall drudgery and sorrow of this character. And it's showing, like, the sympathy that he has for himself. Because it's like, I am stuck here. Like, my empty tears are not going to be fulfilled by any sort of thing. And I'm like, oh, like, I fell in love. And, like, after the premiere, I'm just like, there's, like, like, I have no words just to say how gorgeous that was. Like, I really had to come back and really realize that it was like, this is just so beautifully done. And I went back and listened to it again. I was just like, he has just always outdone himself almost every Halloween. And he's just done incredible work. I mean, yes, he may hate being fully painted, and he may hate, all of the technical issues, but at the same time, he brings out something that is absolutely beautiful to light. And I cannot thank him enough for it. So, good job, Geoff. And I am so proud to be supporting amazing works like this one. I probably have said this before. I probably have said that this one was the best one, but this one, I think, it's kind of like his magnum opus, I would say. Probably next to Ghost Riders in the Sky, because both of them were very time consuming, and, they just worked so very well. He did a phenomenal job with this one, and I'm going to go back and listen to it again. That's where I will be, and I encourage you guys to listen to it as well. I'll put a link in the description. Support Geoff on Patreon, guys. He's just phenomenal. I can't say enough, because he's always too humble for his own good. He takes a lot of compliments, but it's like, no, I don't really. And it's like, dude, shush. You're phenomenal. Just believe in yourself. So thanks so much for listening, guys. If you have any recommendations for the next podcast episode that you want to hear out of me, let me know and I will get to work on it. So thanks so much for watching, you guys, and I will see you guys next time. And if this is coming out by Halloween, happy Halloween. If not, then happy Halloween anyway. Happy October. Who knows? Okay, see you later, guys. Bye-bye.